Sara walked the shadowy streets in a place hastily constructed by the evil spirits, following her every move with great interest. Thomas gripped her pale hand in his own, steadying her as they navigated the cobblestone paving loosely laid beneath them, shifting dangerously with every step they took. It was slow going through the town, both because of the lumpy surface and the fact that they were forced to step around the dead remains of several creatures, scattered around in careless piles everywhere. The body parts they passed seemed to be a mixture of human and a few other species, or mutations, whatever you chose to call them. The pieces were all mangled and jagged, as if they had been ripped from their owners by something very strong and ruthless. Twisted, malformed limbs of different colors and shapes lay on the ground as if carelessly tossed there. A hand here, torso there. A few steps further had them passing a few dark-colored, strangely shaped fingers. Thin and stringy, with nails that grew to a sharp tip, the severed digits were scattered on the ground at intervals like some sloppy eater had dropped a pile of burnt French fries as they walked along. Something horrible had happened here, and, being as this world was no longer a happy and gentle place, the carnage was left right out in the open as proof of what they were facing, a cruel and unmerciful enemy. It was no longer necessary to hide murder. This place was without law, order, or even common decency. The dead, good and bad, were left to rot alongside one another while other nightmares continued to foul up whatever civilized elements remained here. As they walked along, structures started to appear on either side of them, shimmering into view from thin air. Sara was aware that they were not real. Nothing was real here. The houses were as the evil ones made them appear, stage dressing for whatever they were planning to do next. She was also aware that the plan of this place's inhabitants was to kill her, or whatever about her that was still alive, her soul. She didn't intend to let them. One-story buildings of wood and stone lined either side of the makeshift street, and they appeared solid enough for having been made just seconds before. Unimaginative and ugly, the thick rocks were piled together and joined by rough-hewn logs with a plain wooden door thrown haphazardly onto the front of each. There were at least 10 of these structures that Sara could see at the moment, with more popping into view as they moved forward. Thick straw roofs formed the top of the buildings. Stray pieces of the primitive material swayed in a strong breeze that carried the foul stench of death. Several small windows set in rows along the front of each construction spilled out a soft yellow light barely bright enough to push away the darkness swimming all around them. It had been enough to illuminate the bodies on the street, but that was intentional, adding to the creepy factor of the place. As they continued forward, trying to ignore the horror movie-like setting that was being created around them, Sara felt a pull of power, like an invisible cord attached to her body, joining her to the object she sought. The energy drew her onward even as the shadows around her screamed warnings for her to stop. She got closer to it with every step she took and was so focused on following that Cruel barely noticed the activity around her now. The formerly empty void was filling up fast. Shadows shifted in the spaces between the buildings, heralding the arrival of hostile company. She could feel the threat in the air that accompanied their appearance. Invisible eyes bored a hole in her flesh as the entities waited for a chance to get to her. They hardly mattered though. It was her connection with whatever Brachus was hiding that was important, not the little pests he had sent to keep her from getting to it.